The share screen button is there, but I cannot click it. Any of you organizers can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the share screen button is now showing up correctly as it should, but it doesn't let me click it. Is there some problem? You are controlling it?
Sir, can you do one thing in chat box? Go to the chat box and share me the
chat box is not allowing me either to click anything. Okay. So none of the things I can click except for break.
So you can check your chat box.
Okay.
I have pinged chat. I pinged you.
Yeah, but that chat box is not opening when I click. So let me log out again. It's some problem with the versions.
Can you log in from your mobile or something, some other devices?
So as the doctor is still figuring out his glitches, please give him a few more minutes. I apologize and I understand that we have been spending our time and our efforts here in the session. We from IFERP also apologize for that. Please kindly bear with us for a few more minutes and we will be beginning the session. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So Professor, please be ready as we are preparing to share the screen from our side, and you can take up the spotlight. I would like to thank everyone that has stayed online with us and has been bared with this glitches that we are facing. We really truly apologize for that. But I think you could be empathetic to us and understand that this is something that happens to everyone, to even the best of us also. So kindly, please be empathetic and also be considerate of the situation as well.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, so, yes, Professor, we can hear you.
Well, I have shared my slide.
Yes, we are just going to be sharing it in just a minute. Yes. Meanwhile, I think you can go ahead and just give us a basic introduction, and as we are sharing the screen, it would be a good sync.
Okay, all right. So clearly this is a glitch that I didn't expect happening. But again, good morning to everyone, and we'll see what we can do within the time period. Well, mankind has made significant progress through the development of increasingly powerful and sophisticated tools. Intelligent system has emerged in the information technology world. A type of system derived from successful application of artificial intelligence. And we will, as we go forward, we will see, if you could show slide, my second slide. It's much more difficult remotely. Our AI is not that far. So please go ahead, share, and if you can show slide number 2. Now, I've turned off my that was this phones as well as putting my headphone for the Zoom. So, Madam Host, you can hear me okay, right?
Yes, Professor, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Now, okay, the display is all screwed up because they're displaying the PDF. Okay. All right. So can you, it's not possible for you to probably show just the slides. Okay. All right. Let us see what we can do. Slide number 2, please. Next slide. Okay. So before we get into what is intelligence, what are intelligent systems, and let us look at quickly how far we have come. Obviously, I cannot build anymore on my slides. Okay. We as human beings, we started out as hunters and gatherers, right? When we could survive, that's when we had the agricultural age, or that is Industrial Revolution 0.0, you may call it. That is circa 10,000 years before Christ. Around 1784, we estimate the age of mechanical came around, when we humans harnessed the power of mechanical systems to help them with all sorts of labor, automating various kinds of hard labor
that humans had to do earlier to build. Then about another 100 years pass, and we enter into the age of electrical. That is, 1.2, 2.0, we can call as the Industrial Revolution. And of course, from there, things speeded up relatively. And we entered into the age of electronics and digitalization. We witnessed the World Wide Web come along, and lots of things getting digitized, electronified. The birth of the computer happened, the personal computer, and for example, we know in 1971, probably 1970, we can count, Intel produced their first memory chip, and 1971 was their Intel 4004 chip, which is an integrated chip that ushered in a tremendous revolution in human life, and let alone science and technology. So now we have entered, some people argue, Industrial Revolution 4.0, or the age of the cognitive. Okay, when we are talking about cognitive, neuromorphic, thinking machines that are getting into our daily life. So these intelligent systems have now become not only commonplace in our daily life, but also you might even find your high schooler enough skilled, high school student enough skilled to detect lazy eyes by using just their cell phone and the cell phone camera. Perhaps some of these advanced students are already detecting arrhythmia of the heart with a stethoscope attached to a smart cell phone. So this age that we have entered is defined by, like any other age, the systems and tools, the processes and methods, as much as the thoughts and emotions employed by the inhabitants of that age. So an intelligent system would operate in an environment with other agents. This is how we define. And it possesses cognitive abilities such as perception, action control, deliberative reasoning in a natural language or languages, and it follows behavioral principles based on rationality and social norms. So it has the capacity to adapt through learning. That is what intelligent systems provide. But let me take you to the very beginnings. Next slide, please. The mythological history. Two examples from the Greek mythology, where the Pygmalion, of Cyprus, built this wonderful marble statue, and then he falls in love with that. And this is kind of, you can imagine some living or moving being coming out of an inanimate thing. And that's, you can kind of correlate why the Pygmalion, or the writer of the story, the people in their imagination think about, living things come out of something they created by their hand. This correlates with, for example, George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion, where this character Higgins teaches Elijah to speak in Queen's English language. So as a matter of fact, there is a reference. Those who are the students of artificial intelligence can recognize that Elijah is the first AI program. It was developed by Professor Weizenbaum at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So that Elijah connection is right there. And now if we think about the Indian mythology, our own traditions and mythology, we can relate to Prabhu Ganesha, where Parvati ji, forms the sandalwood murti of Ganesh, and then out comes a live and all-knowing Ganesha out of it. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. You might have heard of Frankenstein or seen the movies. There is this attempt by a real scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who tried to create a human being, as a matter of fact, so to speak, or a humanoid, just through his scientific and experimental work. So that is, you can imagine, that's when people have been, since then, people have been imagining about artificially intelligent things or beings, right? Next slide, please. Maybe we skipped one slide there, but that's okay. Between the, just before that. This one, I wanted to mention this about this legend of Ajatasattu in Pataliputra, where, these robots, what we call as robots today, were built, and there is a connection to the Greco-Roman culture at that time. There is a legend where that says that a young man of Pataliputra found himself reincarnated in the heart of the Greco-Roman Empire. They used to call it Roma Visaya in our literature. He marries the daughter of the master robot maker of the time and learns his craft. He knew he wanted to come back with that knowledge to India and create these, the automatons or mechanical beings, if you will. But he was certain of being slain as he tries to escape the place because it was extremely closely guarded technology of the day that is building robotic structures. So he steals the plans of making robots and hatches a plot to get them back to India. He puts in his body, basically, these plans under his skin, and he, of course, dies in the process, but he has planned so that his body will be brought back to India. And when it gets brought back to India, his son eventually retrieves these treasures, these plans, and creates the robots. It is said that he built these automated soldiers of King Ajatasattu, which guarded not treasures, but treasures of a different kind. That is the Buddhist relics in the underground chamber. So the Greek myths, automatons, are made by the god of technology in Greek mythology, called Hephaestus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing right, and an artisan called Daedalus. And in our Indian mythology, we have the super engineer, the engineering god, Vishwakarma, and also with the help of sorceress Maya. Please move forward. Move forward. Yeah, one more. Okay. There are even in Turkey, you have instances where they were building automatic chess playing machines, even playing the trumpet, automated machine that would play a trumpet, and mechanical theater for a drama, etc. Next slide, please. In the US, they created, relatively recent, in the Joseph Faber over there, created, he was a German, I believe, but migrant to the United States, the talking machine, Euphonia, and of course, that technology didn't last very long, but I just wanted to tell you that since we are talking about evolution, I wanted to take you to the past. Remember, it is like we talk about descriptive and predictive. So I will touch upon descriptive things that have already passed when we are trying to understand and describe. And predictive would be few things that could follow, that the evolution could take us. Some of that may be speculative. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, all right. So in 1921, oh, okay, we skipped one slide. Okay, I guess you are having trouble with the focusing on the slides. Okay, stay there. So there was this, the origin of the word robots, and robots are a great example of intelligent systems. That's why I had this little slide. The word robot comes from, people think, a Czech culture. There is a Czech word called robota. It means work. And another interpretation is actually, it means forced workers, robota. So it has a negative connotation. Or even today, they use the word robota to mean boring and uninteresting work. So that is the origin of the kind of word robots. And you know about Isaac Asimov's the laws, robotic laws. I will not get into. Next slide, please. So what are intelligent systems? Next slide. Systems deploying software programs or hardware software subsystems designed to perform complex tasks, employing strategies that mimic certain aspects of human thought. Okay, it's next slide. It's on next slide. So AI is the study of how to make computers do things at which, at the moment, people are better. Okay? We can endlessly debate about it, about the definition, but in my mind, the key criterion of intelligent systems is evolution. And evolution, it's intelligent if it can learn, even if only some limited sense, and get better with time. Okay, it was on the next slide. Can you please then move to the second slide? 2 slides from here. 2 slides from here. Okay. All right, fine. I think there's some jumps happening. I'm kind of surprised. Okay. Did we jump a few slides? You jumped 4 or 5 slides. No, you're going ahead. Go back if you can. Okay, no, yeah, before please go back to slide number, what is it? Like 10, slide number 10. We finished 9. So can you go to 10?
So this is 10. So we are on 10.
Slide number 10 would be useful if you could go there. If not, 11. This is 10, right? So I'm just showing you the beginnings of modern technology, because we were talking about evolution. For example, of course, the logic and theory was developed first. Then things were built. Blaise Pascal built his adding machine, calculator, in 1642. In 1694, we had Leibniz, the famous for calculus, remember? Leibniz reckoning machine, or his calculator. And then relatively recently in 1834, Charles Babbage built the analytical engine. Okay, that's the first, if you will, computer-like thing. And remember, there was a woman who actually programmed it, she developed COBOL. That's a quiz to some of you listeners. Okay, so Ada, her name, I gave away the answer. Writes about the engine that the analytical engine has no pretensions whatever to originate anything, meaning they thought that these machines can do pretty much anything. If it can do whatever we know how to order it to perform. Look at the expectations and how people can imagine great things. Much miraculous things when it may not be there. And by the way, we're on slide 10. You need to move to the next slide. Okay. Madam, are you having trouble moving the slides? Okay.
No, there is a lag that generally happens with Zoom's slide changing. So that is why the lag is.
Oh, that much lag. Okay. All right. Next time, this permissions, etc., should be resolved for a smooth conduct of this. But we'll try our best. What we can do. Limited functionality. All right. We're still there, so I don't know. Okay, I will move on, speak about something more, otherwise it will be boring. So let's dissect AI a little bit. Artificial, so artificial means produced by human art or effort rather than originating naturally. Intelligence means ability to perceive, acquire knowledge, reason, and apply it, okay? And interact with the environment in the presence of other agents. But there are evolutionary demands, and evolutionary demands refer to such things as variability in the environment and your ability to adaptability. Being intelligent means to be able to cognitively grasp the phenomena, being able to judge and trade off between different possibilities. An important aspect of intelligence is the way and efficiency, how humans are able to adapt to new environment, assimilate their environment for solving problems. The combination of information, creativity, and new problem solutions is crucial for acting intelligent. So that is, some of the characteristics of intelligence. I see that nothing is shared.
Yes, Professor, we are having some network issues that are happening. We're just connecting back again.
Okay. So I'm wondering, what's the time kind of constraint you have? I have 15-20 more minutes, no problem. But I don't know the listeners and you, what is the issue, but I don't, this is technology still out there, right?
Yeah. Yes, Professor, you can actually go ahead with the available time that you have. I'm sure since we did have so many glitches, so I'm sure our listeners are eager enough to listen to the entire address.
So are you saying, I mean, it would be very hard to talk about something without showing some figures or words? So
yes, doctor. So yes, we are again trying to connect back. So we are connecting from Chennai, where the weather conditions are that we have been predicted a cyclone. So that is why we are having signal issues.
All right. So let me still go ahead and speak. Hopefully, some of you can imagine what what I am talking about. Let's talk about artificial intelligence. Okay, that doesn't need a lot of pictures, so I'll tell you about. So think of it as having two axes. Okay, on one axis, imagine you are plotting thought and behavior. On the horizontal axis, let's say we are going to write human or rational. That is, the behavior is human or rational. Similarly, thought is human or rational. So we got 4 quadrants, right? So our thought of an intelligent system could be human or it could be rational. Why do I say rational different from human? Our thoughts as humans are not always rational. You know that, right? So an intelligent system, in its so-called thought, it may be human or it may be rational, or it could be both, of course, some combination. Similarly, in its behavior, it could be human, how it behaves, and in its behavior, it can be rational. So for example, a system, an AI system that can think rationally, that would be in the top right quadrant, right? When I explained. Now they're showing. Okay, good. I think they're showing, yeah. So okay, cool. So now can we go to the, I think I will not spend a whole lot of, so I will take you to another, a measure of rationality, okay? So because we talked about the 4 types of intelligent systems, so people have defined, Alan Turing himself, the great mathematician, and even some people consider him as the father of computing science. So, okay, the Turing test is this. You enter into a room which has a computer terminal. You have a fixed period of time to type and also to understand what the terminal types and study the replies. At the other side, other end of the line, or the other side of the computer, behind the computer screen, there could be a human being or a computer system. You don't know. Well, there could be a human being or a computer system. Now, the intelligent behavior will be defined this way. That is, that you as a human being, you are on the bottom side of this picture that is drawn, that is you, okay? You are, can you tell whether the replies came from a computer or it came from another real human being? And if you cannot, that means that the system, okay, if it is really a computer is behind it, then that computer is intelligent, human, has human level performance in a particular task, and that task is giving you replies in a textual manner, right? That we simplified the task, and so we can say it's intelligent, and at a human level, if we cannot tell whether it's a human or machine, but if for a particular cognitive task. Okay, next slide if possible. Okay. So we talked about various things, systems that act like humans. I will not spend a whole lot of time because we are pressed for time, but can we move to the next one? Next page, please. So here we are talking about rational behavior, doing the right thing, so-called right thing, okay? The right thing, that which is expected to maximize goal achievement, given the available information, given the available data, what's the best action that you will take? And that is rational. By the way, human, like as I said, humans are not always rational, but a computer that is intelligent and rationally behaving has to do this. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. I'll be jumping quite a bit so that we can at least. Okay, there is, some definition. Let's please jump that, given that we don't have time. Oh man, this has a build. Next slide has a build, so you cannot very well see. I was plotting the certain watershed moments of AI. Development, okay, artificial intelligence systems. Maybe you can figure a little bit. The pictures are now overlaid on top of each other. It's a PDF. So, so essentially, you will see two things. We could say that in 1957, John McCarthy coined the term. Okay, he coined the term AI. Other luminaries were also contributing at the time, such as the brilliant Claude Shannon, of the information theory, the father of information theory, if you recall. Herbert Simon, another, I believe, is a Nobel Prize winner as well. And Marvin Minsky. I had the pleasure of being taught by Professor Minsky for a little bit. So that was interesting in my college life. Okay, so the story goes that Turing predicted in 1950 that intelligent systems can be built that can answer Turing refer to the Turing test. So it can answer at a human level some questions. In 1957, Newell and Simon predicted that within 10 years, a computer will be the world's chess champion. Remember, those are hypes, don't you think so? In 1950, Turing saying that a computer can understand language and can answer an average interrogator at the level of a human being, or Newell and Simon saying that in 10 years, a computer can play chess at the highest level. Those were really hypes in my belief. So what happened, not going into the history, AI had great prospects then, and a lot of hype though happened. That means people are predicting or misinterpreting or predicting beyond, tremendous expectation that was not aligned with the reality. So the United Kingdom and the United States, they all reduced the funding tremendously over that period that we call the AI winter, the first AI winter, okay? That is somewhere between 1960s to 1970s. And then there was birth of expert systems, neural networks. There was a spike in the development, in the innovation that came in, and a lot of good things, capable systems and algorithms, software programs could be created. However, again, because it was tremendously, the expectation was rising, the cycle of hype was going up. Again, it was found that the systems, the so-called intelligent systems, did not meet the expectations. That led to the second AI winter from 1980 to 1990. After that, we had machine learning and deep learning come about. And in my picture, I had a few of those things. The driverless cars and Facebook and other companies giving you face AI, Cortana and Siri and Alexa, able to understand what you are saying and answering, of course, to a good degree. No, it's not, again, probably human level, but in certain aspects, they were great because they had data to harness. They can give you facts very fast. Human beings like me may not be able to give you the facts and numbers and dates, but in many other aspects, obviously, human beings answer, intelligent human beings answer would be much better. Okay, with that said, let's move to the next slide, please. So here is an example where, playing chess was very difficult, okay? You have about 35 branching factors and you had to deal with a depth of 8 or so. So 35 to the power 8 or something like that, the calculation goes, are the number of steps to be considered in a rather, brutish way when the computer plays against a world master. Of course, world master doesn't do that. But playing chess was only a small thing relatively, okay? Chess was easy relatively. Now, I'm giving an example here. I had a build, but again, builds have died. From language, it is very, very complex. Look at the many meanings of the word ran. I ran to the store because we ran out of milk. Can I run something past you for a quick check? The house is looking really run down. The meaning of the same words are greatly diverse, and having a system and an artificial system understand the intricacies and the context is really, really difficult compared to playing chess. Next slide, please. Okay, another example, human language or any situation even for that matter is highly ambiguous. Here is one example where, simple lines that are written, when you try to understand and parse it, there are so many different interpretations that can come out. For example, if you say Kim and Sue or Lee, does it mean Kim and Sue, two people, or Lee, or is it Kim and Sue or Lee? Okay, so there are two, straightforward interpretations. Now, when you combine these words and you have long sentences, paragraphs, documents, it can mean tremendous complexity. And this is what is indicated. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, here I was drawing, no, you had the pictures. Just go back to the picture, previous slide. Okay. Well, I mean, I had a bunch of other things to talk about, the future and all that stuff. We may not have time, but here is some major development in the history. It's a visual history of deep learning. Deep learning, as you know, is a subset of machine learning that is brain inspired. And the deep learning breakthroughs, could be identified with few watershed moments. And in this picture, you'll find the technology that was developed and a main character behind it is shown. So it's a big eye chart, but I thought it might be interesting for you to know the evolution, because this timeline kind of represents an evolution. I could tell you this, long story, but there were three historical waves. There is the wave of cybernetics that peaked in 1970, and then came the world of, or the wave of connectionism and neural networks, which peaked in 1995. And since about 2006, deep learning is something that has been rising, and yeah, that's all I wanted to tell you on this slide. Maybe move on to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So the foundation of AI, actually, it's very diverse and deep and long. It's a field of science that encompasses specialist areas such as psychology, linguistics, computer science, among many others. It is dedicated to the task of simulating and automating intelligent behavior. Typically, AI is also gets divided at two levels, something called symbolic AI and another something called sub-symbolic AI. Cognitive intelligence describes the learning of and the dealing with knowledge. So there are a bunch of areas, next slide please, that have contributed and continue to contribute to the development of intelligent systems. It's not just computer science and engineering, but many other fields, including philosophy and whatnot. Okay. All right. So maybe this is a good time to stop, and I will jump to my last thing that I was going to tell you about. Pictorially, it would have looked very nice, but now we just have to deal with. Is it possible for you to jump to, let's see, which slide? There are many interesting slides there, but since we'll bring it to closing, slide number 51, perhaps, jumping over many of these slides, 51 if possible. 51. Yes. Okay. Stop there. So as I told you, my analysis would be both descriptive and prescriptive and speculative. So lots of things that I explained to you were, things that have been happening, and, a lot of interesting things where I participated in. I had to jump, such as building hardware, right? That was my passion. Chips, computers that power today's intelligent systems everywhere. That I jumped, but let's talk about briefly the limits. Okay, there is this something called the Kardashev scale. Kardashev was a Russian scientist. He came up with this idea that human civilization can be judged or can be characterized based on the amount of energy, or I say the amount of information, because information and energy can be equated. That is a totally different talk, what information really means. But anyway, energy, he talks about energy. If a civilization uses and leverages and produces, okay, energy that is 10 to the power 16 watts, 10 to the power 16 watts, we'll call it a type 1 energy, type 1 civilization. So civilization here, we're talking about intelligent systems, right? So a type 1 civilization is something that Carl Sagan and the famous, the great Carl Sagan, scientist, right? And also Michio Kaku, for example, he's a living American physicist. They speak about the planetary civilization. That means any civilization that can command all the energy that is in a planet. In our case, for Earth, it means all the sunlight that is falling on Earth, all the volcanoes, all the hurricanes, all the water in the ocean, all the all the forces that are there in our planet. If we can leverage, we can control, we can use all of that, then we are a planetary civilization, and we are using that level of energy. So that is future. Today we are in type 0. Okay, really we are in type 0 civilization today, where significantly lower level of energy usage. Remember, energy, you may burn things, but you are not efficiently using. Then you are using much less energy. You may be burning out. You are not producing them. So when we have defined, we mean both being able to control, use, fully, and produce. Okay, so we are type 0. They say that in today's world, we produce, we actually consume, produce maybe much less, 581 exajoules. Those of you who know about the peta and tera, peta and exa, etc., they will understand what exajoules, joules in exa scale. And we are still type 0, 0.7. Okay, so that is, forget about, we are humans or things that can be of type 3 are like godlike. They are immortal, cannot be destroyed. Okay, so the planetary in the left, in the middle, it's called galactic. Okay, galactic civilization. On the right is intergalactic. Okay, the middle is actually they call stellar. Stellar, in a star, all the energy of a star can be leveraged, consumed. And the right side picture shows you where it is intergalactic, multiple galaxies or maybe multiple universes. Their energy can be utilized. Again, obviously it means intelligently, completely. If you can utilize and produce that energy of multiple universes potentially, obviously we are talking about intelligence. Next slide, please, so we can conclude. Okay, so coming back to our one of our main topics about AI, I wanted to introduce the concept of singularity. Okay, basically, roughly, it means when the intelligence of a machine exceeds the so-called intelligence or intellect of the human ensemble. Okay, then we say the machine, we have reached the singularity, and perhaps the humans then become transhumans. transhumans. Okay, and this term kind of came about, got a lot of traction after Ray Kurzweil wrote in 2005 his book called The Singularity is Near. Okay, but I have to warn you, type 0 doesn't necessarily mean we will go to type 1. We may also destroy our civilization and we still stay within type 0, and type 0 is very dangerous civilization. It is not indestructible. It is not indestructible. And so we have to be careful about all of this. Is it a positive feedback loop that will lead to more virtues, or will it be more of a downward spiral for the humanity? With that said, I will conclude my talk. If there are any questions, if there are time, I will be happy to answer. Thank you. Thank you again for your patience.
Thank you, Doctor, for the wonderful session that you have given us. And I'm sure that if any of you have any questions, please do. You can raise your hand or even put it up in the chat box. I'm sure the professor would be happy to answer. So we just take a 2-minute time to answer any questions if there are there. The chat box is open.
I don't know if I can open the chat box. If you are good enough, you'll be kind to read any question.
Yes, so far we had no questions. If any do show up, I'll be sure to let you know, Professor. So meanwhile, as people are gathering their thoughts, I'd like to deliver the vote of address for this session. So good afternoon once again to everyone. And I believe that despite the glitches that we had, and despite the technological problems that we had faced in the very session, I'm still, I believe that the session was informative and knowledgeable. It was a very good journey, starting from mythology and coming to the latest advanced modern age. I think that was a very beautiful journey that our professor had wonderfully communicated. And on behalf of, so yes, I have a raised hand by Dr. Pankaj Kumar Singh. So yes, please go ahead with your question if you do have, or you can type it in the chat box as well.
Okay, thank you, madam. Myself, Dr. Pankaj Kumar Singh from IIT BHU. Sir, your presentation was very nice. Regarding the artificial intelligence. My question is that regarding the artificial intelligence, how it is going to help in the formation of the robotic technology that is used in the medical sciences?
Right. Thank you for the question. I did have maybe 1 or 2 in the backup, but now I cannot show. So today, see, robots, when you say that, it could be actually a humanoid form, or it may not be. So surgery, for example, robotic surgery is now performed in many places in the world, especially because it's so much more steadier, and predictable how the robot surgeon behaves, that it is a great area of research that is ongoing, and many places robotic surgery is happening. Another area which is not in the form itself, there are many examples, of course. Robots bring, do the job of a nurse. They bring, your pills, your water, your other medicine to your bedside, and they remind, obviously, and they help you rage, and etc. That's one area. Another, that somewhere the form is in the middle. I'll tell you 3 things. One is more hardware, humanoid based, or something physical that is moving around and helping. That is one area. I gave one example. Another is the exoskeletons. Exoskeletons are allowing you to live a real, I mean, what should I say, a enjoyable life. Just a few days ago, I saw some news reel where a person who was totally paralyzed was, given an exoskeleton. It's a leading edge research. Exoskeleton is something that allows you, and this fellow gave the beginning kick of the world games of football. Okay, he went. Somebody who could not walk, obviously paralyzed and everything, with the help of an exoskeleton, he got up from his wheelchair and went and kicked the ball to start off the world championship. So that is an example. There are others, about Stephen King, the great scientist. One of my teams, when I was a chief architect in Intel Labs, Intel Corporation, we had some interactions. Remember, if you recall, how he was in a fancy wheelchair with various equipment, and he could communicate with you. How? He didn't have the ability. He cannot speak. He cannot even move his mouth. But there was an implant that was detecting the brain waves when he was trying to say something or ask for something or answer something. The brain waves are then captured by the system, and then the system interprets those brain waves as some linguistic sentences, replies or questions, and then that comes up on the screen, so it can communicate, and it could even activate other pieces of his somewhat robotic chair. So that is yet another example, and Intel was very involved, so I kind of knew. Then think about in other medicine, where it's a software robot that is doing. So, for example, Alzheimer's disease, ALS, is one of the most dangerous disease in humankind. Anybody who gets it, so far, they don't recover and they die. That's a muscular dystrophy, skeletal-muscular problem that occurs slowly. Your body disintegrates. So this ALS, finding drugs, a computer, an AI machine system developed a drug that is fairly effective for this ALS patients, and also helped discover 5 genes that control the motor neurons of the body. By going through millions and billions of pieces of research that people have done in various domains, medical domains and related domains, to come up with these answers, and our own genome and genomic data, etc. Okay, so these are some, and about breast cancer, also diagnosis, how the software robots are helping. Okay, I'll stop here with that.
Can you say something? Okay, thank you, sir. Can you say something about the neural network? So many types of neural network are coming, that is the CNN, ANN, RNN. How can you categorize these things? How they are different?
Well, neural networks, basically the architecture part you are asking about. As you know, for any intelligent systems, you have an architecture, you have algorithm, you have the hardware system, and the overall gluing that provides you with the capabilities at the end you see. So for some of these neural networks, often they're some people characterized by direct depths. A tremendous number of depths nowadays systems use. That is why it is so very expensive and energy consuming and bad for the sustainability perspective. So there is the depth and the breadth. And then when you have, it's recurrent, whether it is feedback, non-feedback systems that you have, some things, neural networks and deep learning is an area where explainability is a major challenge. Okay, explainability of the decisions made by the neural networks, as well as exactly what pieces of the architecture in the neural networks are helping with what, is also open, meaning we understand some and we don't understand many others. And one of the challenges of deep learning network is that it is very primitively and not recursive, people say, and it is from the perspective of fairness and ethics, and they don't. They are trying to build in some. So you can really characterize neural networks in various ways, and then some people say so. But I'll tell you, at the highest level, there is brain inspired and there is something that is not. Within brain inspired, you can have spiking networks, okay, that are a little bit more closely like how in your brain things work. And the traditional, sorry, that is my Siri speaking back to me because I shouted. Okay, sorry. That is the intelligence. So there is spiking networks, and then there is something called neuromorphic networks. Neuromorphic networks, one of the first instances I saw from one of my old labs, Mike Davis was speaking about it, researcher in Intel Labs in Oregon, about the neuromorphic chip, where they focused on the auditory knob or lob, and they were mimicking, sorry, not auditory, it is smelling, the olfactory, sorry, olfactory lobe. They mimicked it, but they created something that has the architecture of the olfactory lobe in a human being, because that is something we have understood better in human beings, how the olfactory, so identify the smells. So they figured out that with very little training data, it will produce inferencing capability that will match and do better than many other conventional way of doing deep learning with the neural networks. They also had neural networks. They also called the neural networks because the olfactory lobe, is about the clusters of neurons and how inputs come and how it gets interpreted. What kind of smell am I smelling? What kind of smell is in my nose? So in other words, there is no, the answer is messy in my view. And people just come up with different models of it. So you can have unlimited number of models and variations. But the highest level, if you want to characterize, it's not so easy either, because a lot of hybrids are created. Now the interesting innovations are happening when people are crossing, the different techniques and different architectures. There you go. So,
but sir, what is the difference between the artificial neural network, convolutionary neural network, recurring neural network? How they are differentiating? How they will be different?
Well, I mean, I told you. Different techniques, right? Like the long short-term memory technique somebody brought the recurrent one where the feedback is happening and you are basically unfolding the frames historical. It's like, imagine you're learning from one shot and then expanding it. But the problem with many of these is also something called the catastrophic collapse of memories. Human beings are much more resilient. When we suddenly put in a totally different situation, we learn from it. We don't forget everything that we have learned before. But today's normal, today's or conventional, let's call, neural networks have that difficulty. So people are trying to figure out, okay, what should I try to remember? What should I try to forget? So the forgetfulness, so there are various varieties there. So you can always think about that. And then there is analog versions of all of these. There is a professor, IEEE fellow, who propounds analog methods for doing, because he's finding the traditional ways are, much more inefficient and don't do the job. Okay, so there you go.
Thank you, Doctor, and thank you for the question. I believe we are a little pressed for time, so I'm afraid we have to close the Q&A with this. So thank you once and all to everyone who have participated in the session today, to the audience, as well as to our honorable professor. Sir, your session has been really enlightening, and on behalf of IFERP, I want to extend my gratitude to you, time and energy and efforts. To all of you, we would like to apologize once again for the glitches that happened, and as well as I would like to thank you all for your patience with us. There is a feedback link that has been posted in the chat box, so you could fill in your feedbacks through those forms that has been posted by my colleague, and you can also download your e-certificate. Yes.
Madam, can you open the chat box? Actually, I want to share something.
Yes, let me just ask them to share them. Okay, as my colleague is going to be opening up the chat box, I would like to inform you all that your e-certificates can be downloaded from the IFERP dashboard, and the dashboard link would be sent to your mails. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to inform you about the upcoming Scopus conferences that we are having. Let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so on the 19th and 20th of May 2022, there is a second international conference on advanced computing and communication technology that is going to be happening. Kindly log on to our website, iferp.in, for further details on this. And next, on the 21st and 22nd May 2022, we have the International Conference on Physical Science and Technology that is happening. Once again, please log on to iferp.in for further more information. And on the 26th and 27th of May in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, we are having the 5th International Conference on Multidisciplinary Research Studies and Education. Again, once again, organized by IFERP. Please log on to our website, iferp.in, for further more details. And we end the month by 28th May with a conference in Coimbatore, India, the International Conference on Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. For information on all the 4 conferences, please do log on to our website, iferp.in. to get further more details about registrations, call for papers, journals, and other information related to this. Please do note that you could always participate in these conferences, and our team at Technorite would be very much willing to help you out further. So as I had told you, I would like to talk to you once again about the Innovative Project Seed Funding Scheme. So as I had said, this is a unique opportunity for students and research scholars to receive financial assistance for their innovative projects, proof of concept, prototype development, product trials, validation, market entry, and commercialization. The call for applications is now open for this, and please do note that the important dates for submission are the 8th May, then the 9th May to 19th May as well. And your virtual presentation will be held on the 11th and 12th of June 2022. The last date of application is on 22nd May 2022. The eligibility for this criterion is that you must be a student or a research scholar. I am putting up a link in the chat box for you all so that you could just look at the link for which you can share it. So I am pasting the link for the innovative project seed funding. Please contact through this link so that we can help you, guide you, and as well as make sure that the right project gets the right kind of funding in that. On that note, thanks to one and all, and thank you to our esteemed speaker as well. Let me sign off on the note saying that take care, stay safe, and please do stay tuned with us on our websites as well as our email communication. Thank you. Have a nice day.